And welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Keenan Meadows. We just saw him on our stream. Booty bop his opponent, completely out of the game, demolishing him. Welcome, Keenan.
Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate it.
So let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about your deck. And we've talked already quite a bit about Gravity Hold.
Yes.
But I really want to start off with Lightning Judgment.
Yay, Lightning Judgment.
That card does 1,000,000 damage.
It does literally 1,000,000 damage, and Zoe gets to play it twice. The best part about Zoe, she has a form that says you get to add one of your attacks down to your staging area as a foundation and then pick Lightning Judgment right back up after you've already hit your opponent with it. So essentially it can max out around like 20, 21 damage by itself.
That is a lot.
And so essentially if you can run a very low diff attack curve base and you can play the right cards. I got very lucky in game 1. I saw the card Mega Ball, which allowed me to reduce Lightning Judgment to a 3 difficulty, which on turn 1 I normally wouldn't do, but since it was 3, I was like, I can throw this out completely safe, bop my opponent for an extra 5, pick it up, add the Mega Ball as a staging area card, and then Lightning Judgment's on a 4, which I only need to check a 3-4, tap the Mega Ball, here's another 10 damage, and that was how we closed out game 1.
And let's bring Mega Ball back up again.
Yeah.
That's a card we've actually talked about quite a bit the last
Oh yeah, I saw Rodney and Piglet's game. That was pretty intense. It was this card is one of the best enablers in Standard right now for these really aggressive Weenie Rush decks. The thing about Zoe right now is that there are 2 symbols to play her off of, Good and Water. This is one of the cards that Good gets that Water does not, and it actually plays really well into the Lightning Judgment strategy, just getting that reduction on there.
Well, the thing is, Jasco Games released a lot of really good ranged attacks
recently.
Oh, yeah. So Mega Ball is a great card to set those things up. -2 difficulty really sets up those rush decks, because most decks are killing, most high-caliber decks, tournament-winning decks, turn 1 or 2 right now.
Turn 1 and 2 are the hot turns, and I know you guys just covered the Bomb Man matchup. I'd like to let you know in round 7, he played against one of the more controlling matches, Psyche, and the Bomb Man just overwhelmed it again. Like this card and cards like it really are setting up this environment in UFS that's very fast, it's very aggressive, and there's little defense to work with it, and so that is why I sort of figured that Zoe was the good pick today. Because I played Dimitri yesterday, very slow, very controlling, just didn't really do it for me. And so I was like, you know what? Let's reverse strategy. Let's just put the possibilities up here, and just it's 2.Zoe. And this is an opportunity to just sort of like look at the game and be like, all right, where do I want to play? And it's fast right now. It is as fast as you can humanly go.
So we just brought Zoe up here on the monitor for everybody to see at home. This Zoe, much better than the last Zoe, that's for sure. Her form lets her basically play an attack, a ranged attack, and there's a lot of cheap ranged attacks right now. Play another attack, and you get a free foundation, and that ranged move back to your hand.
Yeah, and some of the cool parts about the Good symbol, and Water has a couple tricks with this as well, but Good has a couple cards that allow them to actually pick up the face down that you get, so you can essentially take 2 attacks, play them twice, which basically makes Zoe into an 8-hand size character on offense, which is ridiculous. She also has this free 2 speed, which only works on range attacks, which is perfect because that's what she's already playing. And so, like, my first Lightning Judgment always comes for 5, high for 8 to 11, and then the second one, hopefully they blocked the 11 damage, and then they're just going to take the next one because they've had to commit some cards or they don't have 2 high blocks in hand.
Let's talk about Cannon Crack next, because that is a card that's really good for you. It lets you to bring those cards back to your hand.
The card is so much fun, definitely. So it's 4 diff, 3 check. Oh, you guys can see it on the screen. Awesome. You discard a card, add one of your face down foundations to your hand. So Zoe's already put that card down. Maybe you let off with a Gravity Hold, Mega Ball, and Shihiyam. We'll say Lightning Judgment. Why not? Let's make it interesting. And then you go form, put that down, add Lightning Judgment to hand, and then follow it up with a Cannon Crack because it's a high, and you want to distract your opponent from the big ass Lightning Judgment you're going to follow that up with. You discard the card, pick up the Mega Ball, drop the Mega Ball again, -2 difficulty to your Lightning Judgment, play Lightning Judgment, it's on a 4, you probably pass, you probably hit them for another 8 to 11 damage. Feels pretty good.
Now, we shouldn't discount that Deadlocky.
No.
Because if you get into a long game situation, Deadlock says if your opponent has more than 10 foundations, you could play this ability.
It's +4/+4 is nothing to scoff at, but I'm going to say right now, the format itself is a little too fast for Deadlock to be as relevant as I'd like it to be. I never played this ability once all day.
Wow.
And we are 7 rounds of UFS in. It is the end of the day, and I never activated that ability one time because The deck itself doesn't allow the opponent to get to that state. If the opponent's gotten to that state, you've probably lost because they've probably got a good defensive wall up, but there isn't enough catalyst to get them to that point as of yet. We'll see if that changes in the future, but right now UFS is in a very aggressive state, and Deadlock is a really, it's sort of out of mind for me right now.
Let's talk about a card we haven't gotten to yet, which is really powerful in both versions of Zoe.
Yeah.
And that is Cowboy Battery.
Cowboy Battery, yay! All right, so I'm sure they're going to pull it up on the screen very soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 6 damage attack on high zone with multiple 1. It's ranged, which is good for you.
Yeah.
It has a free E to put a card in your opponent's card pool face down.
Yep.
So it's effectively +1 speed to all your moves for the turn.
It's great. Yeah.
And if you have an asset, which you run 3 White Houses.
3 White Houses.
If your opponent has a troublesome asset on their side of the board, you can just
pop it.
Get rid of
don't want to deal with that, especially if it's like a base matchup. You can blow up their trouble or what have you. But Battery itself is it's ridiculous because the way that Zoe interacts with multiple copies is that the multiple is still considered an attack. So say that you turn 1, drop some attacks out there, and then got a couple momentum, say 2, and then you're going into your turn 2, and the only attack you rip is Cowboy Battery. Well, that's fine. And the reason that's fine is because the multiple counting as an attack means you drop Cowboy, multiple it out, give Cowboy 2 speed, put the card in their card pool. After the after essentially 12 damage has resolved, now you form with Zoe, put the multiple copy down into your staging area, and add Battery to your hand.
This do it again.
And then you do it again. And this gets even wackier when you think of things like Shopaholic, where you do that again, you multiple it out, and now that momentum that you got last turn, the attack is now a attack that you can pick up with Shopaholic if one of those multiples deals damage. And then you can just throw that on the end of the string as a BM, because they're probably dead by that point anyways. But isn't it always funny to overkill your opponent by just enough?
Indeed. Looking at some of the other cards in your deck, looks like you've got some tech against throws here. I see you got Leaf Shield.
Yep.
Which is what I like to call an Omni Block.
Yes, an Omni Block.
Always fully blocks.
So good. Defense. I love defense.
It has Breaker.
Breaker.
It's ranged.
I
mean, it checks all the boxes for it. It's 3 difficulty.
Yeah, it's that spam attack you can throw out. I killed people with Leaf Shield today, straight up. It's only 3 damage, but you know, there are times where your opponent doesn't have low blocks. Highs are really strong right now, but this deck plays a lot of lows, and if I don't have anything else in my hand, all I need is a 5 on Leaf Shield with 2 foundations up. I mean, I did that to plenty of opponents today. This card, it's magical. It helped me in a mirror match with Zoe where they were throwing throws at me. I blocked an 8 damage, what is this card that I play? Phantom Driver. They had an 8 damage Phantom Driver, and I blocked that. It helped me beat a mirror match against a Zoe. So this card is just strong all around, and the Breaker is very important, especially because it's the very few defensive pieces that this deck can run. This deck has essentially 2 Leaf Shields, 4 Yami Berets, and 4 of the Gravity Hold. So essentially 10 cards with Breaker 1 on it, which feels pretty good when you can pass one of those blocks, and basically your opponent's Zoe or your opponent's aggressive deck now has to try even harder to kill you. Breaker 1 saved me more than anything else today.
Yeah, you know, up until recently, Breaker 1 was kind of like, okay, yeah, it's Breaker 1, no big deal. But the format's so aggressive right now, Breaker 1 can make or break you on
turn 1, Breaker 1 matters. Turn 2, Breaker 1 can matter, especially if your opponent starts off checking a 3 on their 5 diff. All of a sudden, you Breaker 1 with that Leaf Shield. You took nothing, and your opponent's going into their turn like they're thinking to themselves, all right, this man is going to throw 19,000 damage at me next turns, and I really want to kill him, but there's no way. I cannot pass these checks. And so that just buys you more time to draw into a backswing and just go off.
Let's talk about Journey West decks, because that kind of checks the same box as Breaker.
Yes.
So Journey West is a foundation that says E-Flip. It's up here right now. If this attack is not blocked, your opponent's next attack gets +2 difficulty.
Yeah, and that's very strong in this matchup because any aggressive matchup whatsoever, you get 1 Journey West down. I got 26 life with Zoe. I can take that. I am happy to absorb the attack and then just say, all right, I dare you to pass. I dare you to play the next card on a +2. I can eat that life. I've got 26. The only life that matters is your last life.
Well, you see, I have another mode that I like to play Journey West in.
Yeah.
When you activate Journey West, you're forecasting to your opponent that you're not going to block.
True.
So they throw the kitchen sink at you.
Yes.
And then you block.
Yes, and then you block, and then all of a sudden they've become very sad, and they're a little overwhelmed with sadness, which is totally fine because then they've wasted all their damage pumps, and the rest of their turn is pretty much as garbage as it would be with them not attacking anymore.
Next card I want to talk about is a wombo combo with you, and that is White House.
Yes, White House is a 2/4 +2 mid block asset. It says checks to play action cards get -4. And then it says our commit. After a card is added to your staging area during the combat phase, draw 1 card. This card works on very many fronts for me. First off, checks to play action cards. The biggest action card problem for Zoe whatsoever in the format is Stop. And so Stop is a +3 mid block that would commit her as soon as you've blocked with it. Now you're getting essentially a -4 to that, so it's a 7 difficulty block on top of the speed. So they're checking that card for no less than a 9. And if my opponent is committing out on 9 to pass a block against Zoe, I am totally fine with that because the follow-up Lightning Judgment is just going to be that much worse for them.
The other mode on White House, so the R commit, which you're going to get every single turn.
Every time you add one of those attacks down as a foundation, that response goes off. So Zoe essentially becomes a pseudo 7-hander, and now is a pseudo 8-hander with White House down. Zoe's already pseudo 7, but this card kind of pushes her over the top for me. And not to mention, terrain is very useful in these Wily matchups because I know we had a Dr. Wily here today, Tamarin, and he was doing a lot of gross things with it. But if you get a terrain in hand and he drops his terrain, you can actually blow his up by playing the other terrain. And so I was sighting into a 4th White House in order to sort of deal with that and ruin more of that interaction for him and make him play fair UFS, which that deck does not play with his Skull Fortress in play.
I want to ask you about a question in your sideboard.
Yes.
Everybody I've talked to today has Orders from Hydrant in their sideboard.
Yes.
And they've been completely unimpressed with it.
I
How
disagree.
Has it treated you?
Entirely disagree. Granted, I am playing a giant diversity field. There were 16 Zoes here today. And the best part about this card is that it literally turns off her ability to pick up the attack she wants to pick up the most. The only time I played against a Zoe was Dave Wagner, and he drops Cowboy Battery on me. I Kapokened the Cowboy Battery to take away the multiple. Then I Orders from Hydrant, so he couldn't pick it back up. So basically, he was sitting there with this 6 damage card in his card pool that he could not interact with in any way. So I was essentially safe for another 12 damage he was going to throw in my face.
That's pretty good.
It buys you so much life sometimes.
Yeah, overall, I'm pretty impressed with this deck. Good symbol. I think everyone's kind of super hype about air and super hype about water.
Yeah.
And so I'm really happy to see that good.
Yeah.
After a long time of being bad.
Right.
is made its way in.
Yeah, Good's had a bad history, but especially with characters like Zoe, because the cards themselves don't necessarily synergize as well. But when you've got the right character out, I mean the deck just soars, and the Good symbol I think is the right way to go with her.
I want to talk about one more card.
Yes.
I find this card particularly interesting, and that's Good and Evil.
Yeah. Okay.
So this card went through a major change recently. It's a reprint, and we'll see when it comes up. The original version had unique on it, which means you can only have 1 copy in your staging area.
Very different.
That's the original version up here right now, but they reprinted it. They errated it effectively to be not unique. So you can stack up Good and Evils, which for you I imagine is really good against people who try to play a reversal or try to revoke.
Definitely. And honestly, this card, it didn't see much play today, but the play that it saw was very important. There's when you can get that revoke off and when you can stop that, I mean, basically revoke becomes a dead card in their hand. They will pitch their revokes as soon as you've got a momentum in Good and Evil because they can't play it and it doesn't have a block. So I can just slam into them with all of my attacks. So this card just becomes useless. Like Good and Evil, and not to mention the -1 damage sometimes actually saved me. Believe it or not, the other ability on the card is still very strong. The low block is great. The deck has plenty of low blocks, but this is just another very high quality one. And like you said, removing the unique keyword totally changes how this card is played.
Absolutely. Sideboard card I want to talk about, Soul Trap.
Yes.
Soul Trap, fantastic cards. Really, really good against reversals.
Yeah.
You do not like getting reversals.
I hate reversals. I actually was testing right before this, and I was playing against a Marathi deck that would Skullberry you and then remove the top card of its deck playing characters. So it was a 9 damage reversal on me. And I was like, you know what? Just for you, this is Tanner from Michigan. Just for you, Tanner, I put in 4 soul traps. And honestly, I'd never got to use the hand trap ability, but that +1 high block is good enough for me not to care. That +1 high block saved my life so many times today in very crucial situations. There were decks that I was playing against, like decks playing Tengu Dive right now, where I was like, you know what? Doesn't have a block. Any of these random attacks, Mega Ball, Phantom Driver, these don't have blocks, but I need to defend. I'm going second. Let's put some soul traps in there and try to pass some checks, and by God, we did it.
One thing I like about Soul Trap is there's a card, a contemporary with it, Dimension Door Ambush. that's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, you don't even have to pass the control check.
Yep.
You just get to play this for free.
It is as free as you can be. And when this deck is running about 27 attacks, I believe. This is a lot of attacks to have in a deck, and so passing anything on a 4+1 when you've got another card in your card pool of 5 there's always a risk there. I could check a 3. I could check a 2, and all of a sudden my turn is over. But this one is just like, nah, I'm gonna free pass, free stun 1, like, and all of a sudden I can just form Zoe, add the range attack I played first to my hand, drop the soul trap in there, and we're good to go. And now I've got a soul trap that I might be able to pick up to counter a future reversal.
Now, there's a card in your deck that I don't think is very good.
Okay.
And that is Admonition.
Yes. Admonition is, it's not very good. You're absolutely right. But it is actually exceedingly good in this deck. And that's the thing. Value of cards can definitely change from deck to deck and character to character. The main reason that this card made the list is definitely that +1 mid block. Now, as you can see, the static says after you block a mid attack with this card, it still deals half damage rounded up. So if you block a mid attack, you're going to take half. It's basically like the opposite of Leaf Shield. It is the un-omni block. But what it lacks in what it lacks in that, it makes up for in that +1. I have 26 life. I can take some damage. I'm not too worried about it. And all I need to do is mitigate enough damage to get to next turn. Admonition is one of those cards that helps me with that, especially if I rip into a bunch of cards that don't have blocks on them and a couple Admonition. I can play out my hand and safely know that I've got at least probably like 8 more life to work with than I would have not playing the card.
So let's talk about what's going on now that the Swiss rounds are over.
Yes,
so
it's very interesting.
There are a pile of Zoes lined up right behind you.
There are.
You are 6-1.
I'm 6-1, and there are. We know that at least Clint Badger Church is 6-1 as well.
So that means it's going to come down to your guys' strength of schedule.
Yes,
and going to get in.
And last I checked, Thomas Gordon was still playing his match. I'm not positive where he's sitting, but he was another 5-1 Zoe. I understand that there were 4 5-1 Zoes going into that round, and me and Clint made it out. One of them did not. I think his name is Thomas. I haven't met him. I'll have to do that. And then the last one is Thomas Gordon. He is finishing up his match with Iari, playing Turbo Man, which is the same match that I was playing, and we were both fighting. We're all fighting for diversity. So it was a very interesting dichotomy of like, okay, which Turbo Man is going to win? Which Zoe's going to win? Do both Zoes just win? And so we're going to see how that shakes out. But at this point, it's literally down to tiebreakers and strength of schedule. There's nothing we can do. But honestly, that's fine for me. The diversity battle is one that we've been fighting in UFS for years, and I'm no stranger to it. I've played diversity matches. I've done it. This is the closest diversity I've ever seen. Personally, I've never seen this close of diversity where matching records are going against matching records to essentially vie for that top spot. It's literally going to come down to strength of schedule, which is it sort of hurts. I'm not going to lie, and it's a little rough. But honestly, what I would prefer out of all of this, more so than even getting into top cuts, is for the company itself and the game itself to look at Zoe as a character and say, is this card healthy for the format? Is this card allowing too many degenerate interactions? I personally am not a fan of the what you called it earlier. What was the game? How did you describe my game?
Booty bopping?
A booty bopping. Yeah, I don't think that anybody should be subjected to that. Personally, I would like to play a slower deck. I have more fun doing that. But sometimes you have to play to the meta, and the meta, I'd prefer it to slow down. So I'd like to see something. I'd like to see Zoe addressed in some way.
So let's assume that you get into elimination. Let's assume you have the best strength of schedule.
Yes.
We know so far that there's going to be a Zoe in top 16 for sure.
Yep.
There's going to be a Turbo Man.
Yep.
We know that Rodney's going to get in with
Bomb Man.
He's
definitely.
a Swiss champion.
Dimitri's
Kevin
going to
Broberg's
get in.
getting
Kevin.
in. Psyche. Dimitri's getting in. Are there any decks on that list so far that we know of that concern you?
So I can definitely say that I never got a chance to test against most of the meta. I built this deck last night. I was drinking, and I was drunk, and I was just really. I was throwing my hands up at the game. Our team went 4-2. We were right on the bubble. We ended up 11th out of the top 8, and it was like I cannot play Dimitri again. So I sort of started scrolling through UFS Ultra. I found the card and was like, okay, this is fine. The problem with that, of course, is not knowing how the deck works in some matchups. Now, I've got tech for what I can do, and Good has a lot of nifty tech. But when it comes to decks like Dimitri or Psyche, like those decks are incredibly strong, and I can see how they go. But every once in a while, Zoe just draws the hand you saw of Gravity Hold, Mega Ball, Lightning Judgment going second.
And it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter. Like, okay, great. Psyche, you got to go first. Congratulations. Now we'll go to game 2.
Now, my question for you is, and I'm not trying to take away from what you did today, is the number of 6-1 Zoes, the fact that you built your deck last night in a drunken stupor.
Yes.
Is that indicative to the power level of Zoe?
I would agree. I would say yes. And I don't even think that it. Honestly, I shouldn't be here considering how little effort I basically put into the deck. No testing whatsoever. I goldfished a few games. I played a couple games with Tanner from Michigan, tweaked a couple cards in it, took out some attacks. It was 30 initially. But other than that, this was a total dry run of the deck. And it's awesome sometimes when you can say, hey, I built my deck the night before the tournament, but it also sort of lowers the look on the player's skill cap. Player skill cap right now, I would say, is at one of its more medium-low levels than it's been for UFS in general. And the reasoning for that is definitely going to be because of these fast, aggressive decks that are very costless, and as long as you just see the line of play that you need, you can just sort of roll over them. And like you saw on that stream, I saw that line of play. And I saw that line of play multiple times today, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm the best player piloting Zoe today. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I'm going to give other people the benefit of the doubt. Rob Snyder is the reason that Zoe's like 30 attacks now, and that man got like 4-3. So the fact that you are good at playing Zoe doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best Zoe. The fact that you drew better than other Zoes definitely means you're the best Zoe. So, and there are obviously 2 to 3 Zoes that drew better than everybody else. So, I mean, I think it is indicative of the power level of the character, and I'd like something done about that.
So I just wanted to show this is the cool prize you got in the last round.
This is awesome.
So this is a Dex Protection deck box. It's a 2-deck deck box. It's got a nice felt inside to keep your cards from hanging up on your box. The internal components are removable. And these deck boxes are fantastic. They MSRP at around $30, and I think that is a great value. They're made of really sturdy materials. They got magnets on them to keep them closed.
Yep. And to be honest, I think this is a great thing because in a lot of card tournaments, what you'll find is players will go 0-2 and then they will drop from the tournament. But as soon as I saw this thing, because I saw they posted all the price support before, I was like, it doesn't matter what happens today. I'm walking away with a really, really cool deck box. And I don't have a cool deck box. All my deck boxes are plastic and falling apart. This is nice.
That is a nice
It is
deck box.
felt on the inside. It is a beautiful red on gold. That's perfect with the black. Like, it's beautiful. I couldn't sell you this deck box. I don't even need to try to sell you this deck box. This deck box is amazing, and I'm very excited to begin to use this going forward in the tournament.
Yeah, so everybody who got it, they got one. And I think that's a great value for playing through the 7th round.
Yeah.
Now, there are bigger deck boxes that I believe everybody in the top 16 is going to get.
Yeah.
So I really, really hope that you get in, so you get one of those.
That'd be so great.
Because they are beautiful. I don't have one here in front of me.
I love big deck boxes. I love big deck boxes.
But hopefully we'll
They're
have
great.
one to show during the next round.
Definitely.
They are gorgeous. They are beautiful.
Yep.
And, dexprotection.com. They have deck boxes all the way from the single deck box all the way up to huge 4-row boxes. They have
That's a big deck box.
They have sleeve binders, so
wow.
They got the 4x4 binders. Beautiful products. I saw them all at Gamma. They should be at your local game store or at dexprotection.com.
Yep.
And thank you to them again for providing those for.
This is one of the coolest. This is one of the coolest like consolation prizes I've ever seen in UFS. This makes me so happy. Like I don't even care if I get the first fight at this point. I'm walking away with something awesome.
Now don't forget, coming up after this is the first round of elimination for people who want to win the singles championship.
Top 16.
So remember, if you win singles for Worlds, you get a character card in your likeness. This man has actually won this before.
Hooray!
Can we bring up Keenan Meadows in the card spotlight, please? So if you win this, you get a character made in your image. You get to have input on the art. You get to have input on the abilities. And there is our man right there.
My mom actually did this art. I will throw out. It does say Shannon Meadows down at the bottom over there. But yeah, this is straight up the coolest prize in gaming. When I first started playing UFS, I was actually playing it for the mechanics because it's way more fun than like draw one card, play one card Yu-Gi-Oh style stuff. And honestly, I fell in love with the game, and then I saw the prize and I was like, I'm going to get that. I'm going to win that. And in 2011, I did that playing Ava at Worlds at Gen Con, and honestly, it has been like a reason to keep playing ever since, because the character itself has since rotated out, but there's always the dream of getting another one. Keenan Meadows 2 dot, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe this weekend. I don't know, but hey, sometimes. So this is straight up one of the coolest prizes in gaming, and being able to like, because you get 500 or copies or so of this, so being able to like sign one and give it to a new player and just say, hey man, if you want to try out UFS, this is where you can get.
And that's not all you're going to get if you win this weekend.
Nice.
So you're going to win the UFS World Champion belt.
Yeah.
We had that on here a little bit ago. That thing is like 30 pounds.
Is it really?
It is heavy.
I saw
beautiful.
Jason walking around with it on his shoulder. It was massive.
And folks who made Top 16, my understanding is, in addition to receiving those deck boxes, they are going to receive a preview box of the next set, Street Fighter. Street Fighter comes out. The pre-release for your stores is going to be next week.
That is awesome.
Starting on Friday. The official release date is the following Friday. So if you haven't had a chance to go to your brick-and-mortar store and pick that up, you should. Or visit some of our online sponsors, LegendaryWolfGames.com, RochesterCCG.com, to get those ordered. This set, we saw previews of the set this weekend.
Oh my God!
Really, really
They've been
good.
handing out packs during rounds all day. I pulled Blanca's Ultra Rare. The card looks insane. It's like 5-speed high, 11 damage. Like, this thing is going to be an absolute monster, and there are so many cards just like it in the set. I'm really excited for Street Fighter. I'm not going to lie.
I'm very excited as well. And my understanding is, according to Shane and Jason, there is a secret character that's not been spoiled.
I know.
Yet. That's supposed to be like really, really hard.
We don't know who it is. We've been like, everybody's been trying to find it, and apparently it's a specialized distribution where it's a very limited release, and so people have been opening packs and playing UFS Blackjack here, trying to figure out what that last character is, and no one has found it yet. So we are all like on pins and needles because the Street Fighter characters are so unique and they're so iconic. So we need to know who that last person is to know how to play them.
Alrighty, Keenan, let's wrap this up because they're going to be announcing the top 16 here
almost
any time.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely, it's always a pleasure, Sean.
Best of luck in the diversity battle.
Thanks so
much. And we'll
much.
see you guys back here for elimination right after this. See you.
Let's get started! Fight! We're in for an incredible fight! Will you be the last warrior standing?